So, Tony was talking about, well, not Tony, I think there are a number of people up here talking about all the folks that have been moving to Texas, I guess, to kind of make it go from red to blue. Well, my husband and I are going to be moving down here to counter some of that. So, that I had to say. We're looking at it before Christmas. So Obama, I love Halloween. Halloween. I think this whole Halloween way in the past was created because they knew some kooky little girl was going to be born and that she was going to love everything related to Halloween. I get really into it. I love scary things, except when it's like, it affects, I don't know if you've seen Step Brothers, when it affects my nut, then I got problems. You can't have the Catalina wine mixer. You're gonna ruin this. So let me share with you a real scary story. Because some of the scariest stories, I'm gonna sit. Some of the scariest stories are the ones that are true. My hometown of St. Louis, I'm Ozark born, St. Louis raised. My hometown of St. Louis, we've been dealing with some really scary stuff related to the trick no treat of Obamacare. I had a cousin that was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. And I had a friend, a good friend of mine that was diagnosed with breast cancer. She's my age, she's 34 years old. And she has 2 small children. And she just underwent a double mastectomy. And going through chemo after that, they are hoping that it hasn't spread anywhere else. And one of the employers, her employer for whom she works, just got word that they're actually going to be having to drop a lot of their employees into the public exchange in St. Louis. And the insurance that she is on is Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. And here's where it gets even scarier. In St. Louis, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield is not a participant in the Obamacare exchanges. That means that if you have, well, let me rephrase that. They participate to a point. They will not cover any treatment, any care, any services for the entire BJC health system in St. Louis. Now, BJC is Barnes Jewish Hospital. This is one of the best hospitals in the country. And their site and cancer center is where she's going. So if you are diagnosed with cancer in St. Louis, this is not an exaggeration. This isn't some sort of, being, overly exploitative. These are the bare facts. If you're in St. Louis and you are like my friend, a 34-year-old woman who has breast cancer and 2 children, and they're hoping that just simply by cutting off her breast that's going to do it, that's going to take care of it, and you're dumped into the public exchanges, you don't get your treatment to one of the top cancer centers in the country covered. Not only that, but you don't get, if your children, God forbid, if they need to go to Children's Hospital, where we have people all over the country. Our Children's Hospital is famous. If you, God forbid, have a problem where your child needs to go to St. Louis Children's Hospital, that's not covered either. It's not offered because it's part of the BJC health system. St. Louis has one of the biggest Komen races in the country, where we have women who wear pink shirts and they wear the pink ribbons and they line up hundreds of thousands of them. We have so many. They fill the streets of my entire city. My husband and I live on the outskirts of the city, and they shut down all of the roads up to our neighborhood because there are so many people who are breast cancer survivors and so many people whose lives, whose families have been affected by breast cancer. And the irony that they are now running in a city where, because of this healthcare law, one of the biggest insurers is now dropping their access to the cancer center in St. Louis, where a lot of them receive treatment, is mind-boggling. There's a horror story if you want a scary story. That's true. Now, the good news is that my friend, she was one of very few, and her employer was very kind and took this into consideration, that did not get dropped. But God forbid, what if she had? What would they have done? I don't have to go and blow smoke up people's skirts about the horrors of what this law is and what it does. All I have to do is pick up a phone and call my friend. If Jay Carney wants to call that anecdotal, I would love to buy him a one-way ticket to St. Louis where he could come and say that to my cancer survivor friend's face.
Yeah.
That's not anecdotal. That's real life. That's scary. And that straight up takes me off. when I hear people from this government lie to our faces about this. I'm getting hot now. I feel like I'm in church and I take my jacket off. That's a scary story. I was on, I don't know if it was Hannity or if I was on Greta Van Susteren. And I was on with a gentleman, Tony was talking about some of the media fights that I get into. I love a good brawl. I'm American Indian and Irish, so there's your combination.
Oh, wow.
My husband, we're celebrating 13 years of wedded bliss today. God love you. So I love a good brawl. If I hear a scuffle, that's where I go first. And I was on with, what was this? I don't remember what this dweeb's name was, because there's some strategist. And I related this. All I did was mention BJC because he was saying, well, look, if you like your insurance, you can keep it. And I'm thinking, what size of crack rock is in your possession right now? Because that has not been my experience. I have not heard that from anyone. I started compiling on Twitter stories of individuals who were telling me, well, I lost my care, or I was cut down to 29 hours, or there were hundreds of them. I had to start cataloging them. And I listened to him read these talking points back, and they just say them over and over again. Well, if you like your doctor, you can keep them. If you like your insurance, you can keep it. No, you can't. By the way, my insurance is Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield too. So our prices, our employer's doing a little experiment. Our rates are being jacked up sky high. Yay! I get to pay through the nose for my health insurance. So yeah, they're not dumping us into the exchanges yet. Yet's the operative word. So I'm hearing these people tell me, no, it's actually more affordable, it's blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. We are people out, we're not in the Beltway bubble. We're out here in flyover country, in real-time America. We see how you cannot front what's in someone's paycheck. You can't fake them out of what their employer says. You can't fake them out of what's in their bank account. And that's what what we're hearing from these strategists on television and their surrogates. They're telling the American people one thing. I don't know about you all, but I'm looking at my paycheck and I'm looking at these notices from my employer and I'm like, this isn't adding up. It's not adding up at all. It's definitely not a treat. It's a trick. And I know it is. I know how these people work because I used to be one of them. I used to be big. As conservative as I am now, that's how progressive I used to be. I was borderline socialist. And I believe that nationalized healthcare was the way to go. I was campaigning for the Clintons before I could even vote. I was going to lunches with Hillary Clinton. I was doing all of this stuff. I was one of the big collegiate duns. I did all of this. And then the more educated I became, and the more mature I became, the more conservative I became. And the more I realized, I work really hard for my money. I'd like to keep it. Because see, that's the thing. It is so ridiculously easy to be generous with somebody else's money. That's not compassion. That's laziness. I have an example for you. So when I was a kid, my mother's birthday, September 9th, was coming up. And I told my mom we were at the mall. And I said, Mom, can you give me some money because I want to go and buy a birthday present for you? I mean, that's basically what we're told now with healthcare and everything else. So I said, just give me some money. I have a surprise. I'm going to go get you a birthday present. And I was all excited. I was, like 9 or 10 years old. Still didn't have the concept right of money and how it's supposed to work and how you're supposed to earn it. So she gave me, I think she gave me $20. And I ran across the mall while she was doing something else. And I saw this ugly, and I mean, in hindsight, it was ugly. But it was a ceramic pig. And it was laying down taking a little nap. And I thought, that's adorable. Who wouldn't want a ceramic pig? It's amazing. I'm buying this. And of course, it was pretty much my whole $20. I was really excited. And I ran back and I showed her, look at what I did, how amazing I was with your money. Am I not the most generous person? Happy birthday, it's a pig. And I could see her try. She was remembering, I'm a mother, trying to hide her disappointment that her little girl just went and blew $20 on a ceramic pig. And she put it on the fireplace, and I just, as I got older and as I started becoming more conservative and I started looking at how everything for which I used to advocate, it was just completely idiotic and stupid and navel-gazing and ridiculous. And I always come back to that story. That's kind of what we're all told now, right? We want to be really generous with your money. We want to go buy all these people a ceramic pig. That's basically what they're telling you. And that's exactly what it is. You got a ceramic, and you can put lipstick on it, but it's still a pig. You knew it was coming back to that. I was going to bring that topic to shore. No, it's very easy to be generous with someone's money. I want health care reform just as much as the next person. Our health care before some of this was being implemented, it was decent compared to what it's going to be now. Of course, anything is decent compared to what it's going to be now. But I wanted health care reform, sure. I wanted people to be able to go out and get affordable insurance. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, are Democrats, and this is me, as being naive, Democrats actually going to do something? Are we going to have any of our politicians, even some Republicans, are we going to have anybody do something smart about this? Oh my gosh, we're having a real discussion about reforming health care. And all of the things that could have been done to make health care better, portability, competitiveness, none of that was done. I have a friend whose mother gets plastic surgery at least like every year. I mean, the fake doublets, God, she's not in Texas, so I can say this, because unless he puts it on YouTube, then she may stumble. It's not about you. It is. You know what I mean? That's like her shells. Like they got something on them. She does the whole thing, like her face pulled back. She goes, and it's easy for her to do so. It's easy for her to go out and shop what plastic surgeon she wants to get and what kind of because that's how cosmetic surgery has been established. It's actually set up kind of how you should be able to shop for your doctor and go out and get the cheapest doctor and get the cheapest treatment, most affordable. I mean, that's really kind of how it should be. It should be competitive. Business should not be in it. Business should not be in the business of your health care. It's your health care. All of the things that we could have done to actually reform health care, I was watching as down the line, everybody ignored them. Washington, D.C. ignored it. And that was so crazy to me. And I thought, this isn't about actual reform. And why are we hiring 100,000 IRS agents? Because I know when I think of good quality health care, the first thing I think of is the IRS, right? That's what everybody thinks of, the IRS, which is weaponized and used against Americans, and that's a completely different story, which is taking everything I had and dumping into that ditch. But it's insurance. It's not about health care. We have fewer doctors. My OBGYN is leaving the practice, and she's in her 40s. It's not like she's retiring. She's a baby in the medical industry. She's an infant. She's like barely getting started. And she's leaving the practice because she cannot deal with, in Missouri, they don't want to do anything to medical malpractice. They don't want to touch tort reform. I'm going to ignore my state for a moment because then I'm going to really get sweaty. But that's when I get mad, I sweat. I think that's the Irish part of me. But everything that they could have done for real reform, they didn't do it. So my doctor, my OBGYN, and I love my OBGYN. I'm sorry if that's TMI, but it's my lady doc. It's kind of hard to get that simpatico with some of these, doctors. And I'm really bummed out that she's leaving the practice. And she straight up told us, I'm not going to be able to stay in business with what's coming down the pipe. That's kind of scary. So now I'm going to have to be looking for a new lady doc. That's not very fun. I know there are a lot of other women that are having the same issue. They're finding that their doctors, they're de-incentivizing going into medicine. But yet we're going to give everybody free health care, but we're going to de-incentivize doctors. Tony made a really good point.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're going to record. You're going to pull that off. You're going to pull that off on YouTube and put it on a loop, right? You're going to play it every show. I know how you think. Is it dirty? Tony did make a good point when he was talking about attacking people for their vote. I have, and I'm going to be straight up honest with you. The mean part of me, I don't know from which, if that comes from the Irish side or the Indian side, the mean part of me wants to put a sign out on my porch for Halloween that says, "Oh, sorry kids, would have given you some candy, but the healthcare then took all my candy money. Oh, sorry, you should ask parents how they voted, but I'm not." I actually still may. You might want to check the report. I usually may do that because I found some poster board. I got the marker out. So you may want to take that. They're who we are in our neighborhood. But my first inclination is to attack people who did this, who voted for this. People who weren't in the weeds as much as we were and didn't pay attention to it. I want to go at them and be like, why were you not paying attention to this? How could you be disengaged? You're talking about your money, you're talking about your family, you're talking about, this is life and death. This isn't some far removed policy issue. This is long stuff. No, this is life or death. And as mad as I get, I pause. I pause before going at their throats, which is totally not in my genetic makeup. And the reason I do this is because I used to be one of those people. Sometimes just saying, you know what? You were screwed over. You got tricked because of the marketing, which it was great marketing. Oh my gosh, marketing. They're going to Hollywood. They're going to the NFL to sell this to all the millennials, a third of which live in California. What do you got? Premium increases of 164+% out there in California? That's insane. And the millennials are going to be expected to make this entire thing solvent. Man, if you're a millennial, did you get screwed 6 ways to Sunday? Oh my gosh. I mean, and millennials, look, my radio producer, 34, he's 28. He didn't pay attention to a lot of this stuff until he started producing for me. Now he's like a hardcore conservatarian, you know. You have to be on a show. Not because I actually wanted him because he was a progressive, and I converted him. Because that's what you want to do. You want to convert. Because it's the most spiteful thing that you can do, like, not only did I win the argument, but you now think like me. I mean, that's great. But sometimes it's just planting that seed of saying, you know what, you got screwed over. Because it's hard to pay attention. Look, it's hard for me. I'm constantly on my phone looking at RSS feeds, looking to see what's happening in Washington, D.C. I don't have a research staff. I do it all myself, so I can count on the research I come up with. I don't like to have anybody else do it. I'm crazy with that. I'm constantly following this stuff. Can you imagine somebody who isn't? Somebody who's like 25, 26, 27 years old, who just, the most that they get out of this is a 30-second headline on the nightly news. Or if they're watching the Daily Show, because some people think that that's like for real news. Yeah, that's as much as they're going to get out of it. So when you think about how the state of our media, and you think about what's actually being given to these people in the form of content, yeah, it's kind of easy to believe that they were tricked. When you see it now, yeah, they kind of been screwed over. So as much as I want to go at them, I also want to say, you know what? I was given a second chance. Why don't you get a second chance? You see how this is affecting you. You see how this is affecting your wallet. My 28-year-old male single radio producer has to get maternity coverage. Now, unless there's some new thing in science that we all don't know about, I don't quite understand why single males have to purchase maternity insurance if they're not, it's not like he's out there, skanking it up, But yeah, he's a responsible young Christian man. He's a convert. But it just doesn't. And there's a purpose. They want to charge him for as much as they can, so that they can spread that out. Like they're talking about Texas Policy Institute. So yeah, I want to give them a second chance. I want to give them the opportunity to come over to our side, a logical way of thinking, and say, look, you see how bad this is. You see the bad effects of this. You see how horrible it is. I mean, I was pulling up all these Obamacare stories that I have here from all of these different people. You can follow me on Twitter, and you can pull them up. I mean, like, for instance, last week my boss is cutting coworkers' hours because of Obamacare. Want to work and can't afford to. Hey, Loesch, my wife just got her hours cut to $29 a week to avoid Obamacare. Is this still America? My friend's dad says he's selling his practice because of the Affordable Care Act. Hate to see things happen, all kinds of stuff. I'm like scrolling through this. This is anecdotal. These are people who are living under this. These are small, I'm still scrolling. These are small business owners. These are not repeated tweets. I have multiple pages on this. It's not there. I have to go to the next page because I've collected hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. I want to give people who didn't know about this, millennials and that, I want to give them a chance. They didn't, again, media, they didn't know what they were getting in for. I want to give them a chance. I don't want to go out and go out of their throats. Another thing, I wanted to make this point, just to be a snot. Trick, not treat. It was a real treat that Canada they had $634 million given to this IT firm to develop this website, 93 million of which specifically went to the construction of said website, because this firm is actually handling a number of other things. So they got $634 million, no bid contract. I could have done it and screwed it up just as badly for that same amount. I mean, I could even cut, our 12-year-old could have done it. He sets up Minecraft servers all the time. He could have done it.
You could have gotten 6 guys here in Austin, Texas in their underwear and could have done it for a lot less.
You know, exactly. I could have arranged for my World of Warcraft playing cousin to come and do this, because their servers work amazing. I don't know, I mean, I do play Minecraft, I'm not going to lie to you. I never have a problem. Brandon, you play Minecraft. I've never had a problem logging on to their server. And you know sure as hell that they get way much more traffic than people signing up for Obamacare. Why didn't they get that? Why did that happen? I mean, it's easier for me. I could do it right now. I could pull out my iPad and we could just create a whole new world of Minecraft together. Way easier than we could sign up for Obamacare. That blows my mind. We could have kept that money here and had somebody really bad do, you know, just as bad and save some money and not outsource those jobs. Trick, not treat. It is an absolute trick. An absolute trick. Look, like I said, I want healthcare reform. I want real reform. What we have here, this isn't reform. It's a death sentence. It's a scam. It's a Ponzi scheme, is what it is. You're relying upon the young. You're relying upon this bottom tier to subsidize the top tier. That is it. It's most basic, raw definition. I'm not mincing those words. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's requiring people who are healthy, who don't need to buy a crap ton of insurance, to buy a crap ton of insurance, to pay for high-risk people, to pay for the elderly, so on and so forth. That's how they're going to make this thing solvent. It is a trick. It is a scam. It is a death sentence. I don't want it. I know you all don't want it. Hopefully Missouri, our folks in my home state of Missouri will wisen up and won't implement the exchanges and Medicaid and all that. But yeah, Medicaid, that's a whole other thing I could get into. See, this is the problem. I could talk for like 3 hours on this. They're conflating the Medicaid numbers with the actual enrolling numbers. More people have had canceled health care plans than have signed up for this thing. And in North Dakota, the federal government straight up told the spokesman for Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield in North Dakota, do not release these enrollment numbers. You can go and look at North Dakota local news about that. It's on television and it's on their newspaper, on their website. They straight up told them to not publicize or talk about these enrollment numbers. All I know is that when I do something really successful, I'm a brat, I want to put it on a belt buckle and be like, I did that. I would do the same thing if this was my baby, if this was my legacy. It is an absolute trick. Anyway, I don't want it implemented in Missouri any more than I want to see it kicking through across the country, and that's what everybody's here for tonight, to get educated and go out and be evangelists about this stuff. You don't have to be partisan. You don't have to be, a political anything. You can just want decent, affordable care and want access to your doctor whenever you need to get in and see them. That's what this is about. I'm not a party person. I just want what's best for myself and my family, as do you. Thank you all so much for being here. You can find me at danaradio.com. Thank you guys.